Quick guide to using aloe vera gel for health. Before I start, respect to you for clicking on an educational video like this one, instead of consuming highly edited, mindless dopamine content. Since you're here, you probably have the attention span to sit through a minimally edited video as I talk about what I have used to improve my quality of life and how you can too. My story. For context, I'm a swimmer, and I have been a competitive swimmer since I was a young boy. Swimmers have pretty shit skin. This is a fact that's well known, and we have that pretty much all the time, except for when we don't swim, then we have a little bit of a break. But basically, swimming in the chlorine that's in pools is just absolutely destructive for the skin. So that's something that, I really struggled with, and around 2 years ago, I'd say, is when I had really annoying acne, which would break out on my face, shoulders, chest, and back. So it'd basically be everywhere, which led to shattered confidence and created insecurities, as most teens experience. So I researched basically how I could go about fixing it. And I found out that most good skincare products contain aloe in them. So if the other chemicals and preservatives were removed, only leaving the aloe gel to be used, that might work really well. I got lucky one day when I was on a tour at Aruba Aloe, a company here in Aruba that makes products from aloe vera plants. So I was on tour and they showed me the process of growing the plant, cutting the leaves, and extracting the gel. With this knowledge, I tried it myself, and it went horribly until I got a little bit more practice. But eventually, I made my all in one skincare product. That's what I'm going to teach you today. What you'll learn. Number one, why raw aloe vera gel works better than any skincare product. Number two, how and where to grow aloe at home. Number three, preparing your area. Number four, cutting the leaves and cleaning them. Number five, blending the gel. And number six, storage, usage, and final notes. Why raw aloe vera gel works better than any skincare product. Most skincare and food products, except for the organic ones, and even some of those too, contain artificial chemicals, toxins, and preservatives, which all disrupt your hormones and ruin your fertility. That can be looked into further with estrogenics. So search that up on Google or YouTube, estrogeneration or estrogenics. You'll go down that rabbit hole, but that's good information to know. That's why I use only organic and unprocessed products and food. If nature did not make it, I won't have it. That's a personal rule of mine. Raw aloe vera gel has no downside except that it spoils, but I'll talk about that later. It helps massively through giving glowing and clear skin and hair, which creates a youthful and bright appearance. Plus, you can use it on your skin, hair, or even drink it. So it's pretty much an all-in-one hygiene product. I found it heals wounds and cuts faster when applied, as well as putting all sunscreens to shame. So, personally, I cut my hands. The skin peeled off when I was using my grip for too long. And so I pretty much peeled it all off down to like the blood, which is incredible. But I put the aloe vera on it, and it healed within 5 days, pretty much. So it's much faster than it would have previously. And for sunscreens, it actually really helps. It has an SPF of 14, meaning that it is, of course, less than half of an SPF 30 sunscreen, but it has none of the chemicals that are inside of most sunscreens. So you can either use the gel as a sunscreen replacement, or you can use a zinc oxide and titanium dioxide sunscreen. Those are the only two I'd recommend using and the only ones that I use. So keep that in mind. And the kicker is that it's practically free. So instead of spending money on 10 or 20 different skincare products, trying out each one, and having to constantly pay for something every 2 months, you can have basically the best all-around skincare product for free as long as you have the plant. And the insane part is that people have this plant, yet they don't use it. That's what drives me nuts. And the same with also coconut trees. I'll see people, they'll have coconut trees at their house, but they won't harvest the coconuts because they don't know how. That bothers me. So, how and where to grow aloe at home? I'm privileged since I spend most of the year in Aruba, a country with some of the best conditions in the world to grow aloe. Here, the weather is just right, the climate is just right, and these plants thrive. I found that dry conditions with infrequent watering and bright indirect sunlight works best to grow this type of plant. So those of you in cooler and wet places will either need to place it inside of the house or in a greenhouse for most of the year. If that's not an issue, then move on. But either way, just make sure you can get your hands on a plant and give it the environment it needs to grow well. Adapt to the conditions you are in. So if you're in hotter weather, you're going to water it a little bit more. If you're in colder weather, you're going to water it a little bit less. So the ideal temperature range is around 55 degrees Fahrenheit to 80 degrees Fahrenheit and 13 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. Just make sure your plant can grow big, healthy leaves. So I'd keep it on the upper spectrum of that temperature range. So here in Aruba, it averages around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit more, so in the mid 80s. And I'd say keep it right around there if you can. So if you're in a place with seasons, you're obviously going to have to keep it sheltered for most of the year and then bring it out in the summer. So it does make for a really good houseplant as well. So if you would like to use it for a simple houseplant to keep in your room, so in a little pot, it works really well. It releases oxygen during the nighttime. So that's something to keep in mind. Preparing your area. So don't skip this part, as that's where I messed up. You'll need an empty surface or table that you won't mind getting dirty. A cutting board, preferably wooden, a sharp knife, a thin spoon, which is important, the spoon has to be thin. So take a thin metal spoon to scoop the aloe out, something to clean up a mess like a rag or a sponge, a small plastic bag or other container to put the aloe in once you've cut it. So you'll need to put the aloe leaves, once you've cut them, into some sort of container to stop the sap from dripping. And 2 cups, one empty one, which you will blend at the end, and one with water to wash the aloe gel. I really suggest you make sure nothing important can get dirty, including your clothes, because around the gel, there is a yellow sap. So you'll have the clear gel that's inside the plant, and then you'll have a yellow sap that goes around it. And it sticks to anything it touches. It is stinky and it is a laxative. So do not drink it. Do not consume it or do not let it get on anything. For example, I was wearing a white shirt one time when I was cutting the aloe, and a little drop got on it. And I've never been able to remove it. So that shirt was done. So just keep that in mind, that you have to make sure nothing gets dirty. Clean it up with the rag or sponge and try not to wear anything that you're going to miss. So watch this quick video to learn how to prepare your area. And you've taken it from the plant itself to these little sections. After you've done that, what you'll want to do is set up the cutting board, little cup with water, the cup that you're going to put the aloe gel in to blend it. You're going to need a spoon that's thin, not one of those fat ones, but really thin on the side, and a knife. Cutting the leaves and cleaning them. It takes a bit of practice, and you will cut off a lot of aloe at the start. It's just a natural thing. You need to practice more to get good. So cut the leaves as close as possible to the plant, and quickly place the leaf in a bag to stop the sap from dripping everywhere. Depending on the size of the leaves, you may want to cut 1 to 4. So depending on how big your plant is, 1 to 4 leaves will probably be enough. I'd say start with a minimum amount. Try and cut 1 leaf and see how that works. See how much that gives you. You'll have to go off a feel for this. Once you have them, start by removing the sharp parts, so the sharp and thorny parts of the aloe on the side, then the skin, which is probably the curved part. So you know that in all aloe it curves up. You want to remove that curved part first and then use the spoon to scoop out everything else. And place your small pieces. I'd recommend cutting them into small pieces, just not that small, good stretches of a few inches. Then put them in water to clean them up and put them in the cup later to be blended. Watch this video so you can see the process. Don't know if you can hear me well, but I'm going to try and speak over this anyway. What you'll want to do is, when you cut it, you'll see some yellow sap on the front here. Now, this is the stuff that you don't want to eat because that'll make you go to the bathroom. That's a laxative. So what you'll do is you'll cut just a few millimeters off right there at that front part. You want to do it like this. Just throw that away. Now you're left with the clear gel on the inside. What you want to do then is to cut off the sharp ends. As you can see, this is the sharp and spiky end. You're going to take your knife and cut all that off. Just make sure to not cut that much of the actual gel itself, to just try and get as much of the sharp part out as you can. And you do the same with the other side. This might take some getting used to. What I like to do is cut off the small end of the tail. So I'll just do that. Now what you're left with is the top and the bottom part. I like to just take the knife and cut off the part that's curved. So this side will come off first. Try and cut it close to the skin. You don't want to cut off too much of the gel. Although, what you can do is if you cut off too much of the gel, you just take the spoon and just apply a little bit of pressure and take that right out. So now, after you've done that, just to show you what's coming later, this is a little piece of the gel. Looks kind of funny, but what you'll do is you don't want to put this straight away to blend. You want to wash it, so that's why I have it in the cup here. Just dip it. Try and clean it as best as you can. And then you can just put this to be blended. So just got to keep that in mind. You don't want to have it dirty. You do not want any dirt or the yellow sap being in that aloe. And especially if you're going to drink the aloe. Definitely don't want that. So now you're going to start at the small end with your spoon, exactly as I'm doing. And you're going to take all that gel out and remove it from the skin. What I like to do is cut it part way, like this. And what you'll see sometimes are these little strips of green. You can take them off if you want to. That makes it better. Makes the aloe a little bit more clear. So now you're going to continue. Take it off section by section, depending on how big your leaf is. It's like this. This is a big chunk right here. This is a big chunk of aloe, which is pretty nice. Now, if you have any sections of it that are like brown, like this, for example, just cut that out. You don't want that in there. Dip it in the water again. Remember, the purpose of this is just kind of clean it a little bit. Then you dump it where you're going to blend it in. So now that's one leaf completely done. You can just throw this stuff away. Now, something to say is that the gel itself, so like perhaps you could use these are really good for the roots of plants that have yet to be grown. So if you have a small little plant and it's just got the roots that are forming, or maybe it doesn't even have roots, you can put aloe gel in those roots and it'll start to grow the roots much faster than if you just put water. So that's a little tip for anybody that's doing farming or gardening. We're going to repeat what I just showed you. So I'm not even going to bother including that. But basically you do the same for as many leaves as you want. Blending the gel. Blending process. So watch this quick video so you can see the process. It's really simple. You just put it in a blender. Just make it like that. And it's all based on your desired consistency. So based on how long you blend the aloe for, you're going to get a thicker or a thinner consistency, which both have different purposes. They work best for different things. So choose which one you'd like to have or do both. Thicker gel, best for temporary, so this is under 5 hours of a skin and hair mask. It's good for wounds. It's good for any kind of lubrication, such as during a massage. It's really great, I found, for massages. This is because a small flake, so small flakes, usually, that are left over from the gel appear on your skin. And so going outside with them would look a little bit weird. So if you just put them on your face and then went outside in public, it'd look a little bit funny because you'd have little strips, little tiny flakes around your skin of the dried up aloe that's still there from the thicker chunks. So just be careful. So I found that if you want to get that thicker consistency, use it for probably when you're at home or when you're alone, and blend it for 4 to 8 seconds until you feel it's ready. So with the aloe, you don't have to really remove it. It's up to you. Like if I wanted to have a quick mask to put on for a few hours, then I'll do that. And I'll just wash it off afterwards. But what I like better is the thinner gel. So for moisturizing or sunscreen purposes, this is what you want to use. Since it's thinner, it won't have those flakes. And so you can leave it on your skin pretty much for an indefinite period of time. And so I'll use it when I know I'm going to go outside. Since the aloe has an SPF of 14, I'll just go outside in the sun with it. That'll be my replacement sunscreen if I'm not using a different kind. And so it's really good for leaving in for long periods of time, like overnight, which is one of the biggest uses of aloe for me. Since I'm a swimmer, right? I'll come home from a training or from a competition. I'll, of course, wash myself off, wash my face, use the shampoo in the shower and everything. But I'll notice that my skin and hair are still too dry. So for me, I don't react well to the chlorine, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't. Depending on the pool you're in, you'll have higher chlorine levels and it'll just be dirtier in general. And so I'll put on the aloe on my face and on my hair overnight. So let's say when I get home, shower, I put the aloe on, put it on my hair and my face, rub it in there really good. Like on my hair, I'll do a mini scalp massage and I'll just put it everywhere. So it'll dry before I go to bed. And then while I'm in bed for those 8 or 9 hours, however long I try and sleep, it will be working on the actual hair and skin itself. So the next morning, you're going to feel that it's more moisturized, which is really cool. And for drinking, also, this is what you'd want to use. So if you're going to drink the aloe, you blend it up to a thin consistency and then mix it in with a shake or something because it really doesn't taste good on its own. So just keep that in mind. You want to blend it for longer than 8 seconds, roughly. And then you want to pass it through a filter of some kind just to make sure that all the chunks are gone. Because even when you blend it for long, there'll still be little tiny chunks. So that's what gives you the flakes. Just keep that in mind. Storage, usage, and final notes. So you'll store the aloe gel in a simple container like a dispenser bottle or shampoo bottle and leave it in the fridge. You can also store the gel, the chunks of the gel before you blend it, in Ziploc bags in the freezer if you felt like saving them. Notes. There are more benefits to aloe, but these are the main ones. Use it how you would like. I personally don't drink the aloe, but I'll use it for everything else. 2 cut leaves of gel in this state usually lasts 2 to 6 weeks, depending on how you stored it and how much you use daily. You can bring a small shampoo bottle filled with gel on a short trip with you, but make sure that you keep it cold for the majority of the time. While traveling, it only lasts you about 2 weeks. I found that when I went on a vacation, I had brought a small little shampoo bottle of the aloe with me. It only lasted about 2 to 3 weeks. So keep that in mind. It will spoil, and when it does, you'll notice it because it'll be a little bit of a strange smell, almost strong, kind of like fermentation. It'll smell a little bit strong, and it'll be a little bit more clear or watery, but you'll see in that water that it has a tint of purple. When you see the purple, you know that it's bad. So throw it away. So the second the aloe turns purple, or even has signs that it's changing color, just be careful with it. You do not want to use the spoiled aloe. So that's it to the guide. That's all that I could think of. Let me know if you enjoyed the guide, and please give me feedback. I'd be excited to try and improve these videos. If you have any questions about this guide, drop it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching so far, and have a wonderful rest of your day.